let's talk about why I'm not doing okay. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about mental health. This is not something I've spoken too much about on this channel, so I'm excited to have this conversation and sort of brief you guys on like what's been going on. This is going to be a part 1 because this is kind of also experimental now, and what I mean by that is I'm going to share what's going on, and I really hope you guys like are able to take some things away from this video. And then there's going to be a part 2 where we sort of see like life after however I decide to experiment, if that makes sense. In part 1, we've acknowledged and realized what is going on, and now part 2, we are trying to make some positive change, and let's find out what that looks like. So that's where we're at. This is also my first attempt to do sit down chatty video. I really like videos like this, so I don't know if I'm doing it right, but I don't know if I have the following for it, but I do appreciate sort of like the candidness of them. And I love that I always seem to find a new perspective from videos like this. So that's my hope, is that you guys are able to find something insightful, it resonates. Now let's get into it. So first and foremost, I am a workaholic, and I realized that during the pandemic. I was glued to my computer probably 12 hours a day. Ever since, I've tried so hard to not be that. And what I realized today, as I've been on this spiral, it's Friday, I've been on a spiral since Tuesday, I realized, okay, I was letting go of work. I was focusing on work smart, not hard. I was aware of my surroundings, you know? I learned. But what I didn't realize, and now I realize today, is that I wasn't aware of how I was feeling the rest of my time. So for example, I get into real estate sales in January. I was a marketing director at a real estate firm before that. I wanted to give them a ton of notice because it was a big role to fill. Turns out they never even filled my role, so whatever. So what that means is that I worked 2 jobs for a month and a half, and it was a lot. It's exactly what you would expect. And I did it for a month and a half, and then I finally had relief, and then I filled my schedule again. So I took on a volunteer opportunity, which was once a week, and then kind of something that had carried over from my days as marketing director, I made friends with these 2 guys in my industry, and we decided to shoot content every week about our industry. And so like love content creation, loved volunteering, but didn't love it when I was like, wow, I am spread way too thin. On top of that, trying to date, trying to have a social life, and the kicker, trying to help my mom list her home for sale. And when I say trying to help my mom list her home for sale, I mean help her prepare her house for the market, which was a project that I truly underestimated and thought we would be able to accomplish it a lot sooner, and that has not been the case. So I'm realizing this, right? I'm like, okay, I need to just wait until my volunteer opportunity is done, because I had an expiration date. And around the time that it was ending, I told the boys, I can't shoot anymore. I'm sad, but I can't shoot. I have to really like focus on having time off and helping my mom. But I didn't take the time off. So I'm working 5 days a week here. And back then, when I was volunteering and shooting with the boys, I was working easily 12-hour days sometimes. And then I was driving immediately to my mom's as soon as I was off, staying with her for 2 nights, driving back to volunteer, and then shoot with the boys, and then finally have time to maybe go grocery shopping, or maybe not have time to grocery shop and maybe just have time to make dinner. So as it was a lot, as you can see, right? I cut those 2 things, or the one thing expires, I let go of the other thing, as I said, and then I just really focused on my mom's house. And it got to the point where I like had a mini breakdown. And so we all agreed, okay, like let's pause this, let's take some time off. I focused on dating, I focused on a social life. Things were good. I felt like my head was like pretty clear, I'm not gonna lie. And then we had this date in mind, which is when my sister was gonna be in town. And so it was like, okay, so let's get to it, first week of June. So that's what we did. I took 2 days off to be there while my sister was in town. My sister left after about a week. We got a lot done, I'm not gonna lie. We got a ton done in that week, but we didn't finish. We came nowhere close to finishing. This was like pretty much just like the first dent we made in that process. So ever since the first week of June, we're now in the first week of August, I have gone up there every week, every single week. And what I realized today, and a lot of this is like, it feels like common sense, but when you're in it, so I mean, at least for me, when I'm in it, I'm blind. I just feel so blind, And so I realized today, through the help of my friends, which that's been amazing, by the way, when I went into this spiral, I was like, I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to make sure that I ask my friends for help, and that's what I've done. And my friends helped me. I'm very grateful for that, And with the help of one of my friends, which I'll go into this in a minute, I realized today it wasn't that I was being a workaholic anymore. It was that I was not being cognizant of what I was filling my time with. And even though I was filling my time with happy things, I wasn't filling my time decompressing. I haven't had a weekend, is what I'm trying to say, which means I haven't really fully decompressed. I don't sleep in when I know I have to be at work 5 days a week. Even if I don't have an early morning, I'm up. So that element of decompressing is no longer in my life, which is really scary, and I'm not proud of that. Yeah, I'm not proud of that. So back to what I kind of wanted to go over that one of my friends helped me with while I make dinner, is that my friend, who knows me obviously, was like, you have been in a state of survival. You're always surviving. That has been your life, which is true. But I didn't realize that. And when we first started chatting about it, in my head, I'm like, okay, it's just financial survival, because I didn't grow up with money. And there's this long history of like starting businesses when I was little, working as soon as I could, transferring to online high school so I had more time to work. It's just been like a whole lifestyle of like, work hard, it will pay off, it's eventually gonna give, like something's gonna give, right? Don't have sort of like, you can recreate your life if that's what you want. You don't have to have the life you had as a child. So it's just been very much that. She first brings it to my attention, I'm like, okay, true. I'm in a state of survival, as she said. I'm always trying to find opportunity and trying to be something in my life. And then when I continued to process it, I was like, wow, there's a lot more things that I've survived. Traumas, childhood traumas even as an adult, stuff that I feel like I've worked through, that I have no doubt I've worked through. But it's just like, when you hit a breaking point, I don't know, at least for me, I'm like, wow, makes me think about like all of this stuff, all of this stuff that weighs on you in one way or another. And so that was sort of this first thing. And that's like one of the takeaways that I hope you guys get from this, like when you reflect on what you're going through in your own life. I hope that, I hope it's not relatable if I'm being honest, but if you're going through something, maybe the reason you clicked on this video, I hope that that will be one of your main takeaways, because that was huge for me. So takeaway number one, we're living in a state of survival. So the other part of that is that she's like, when you're comparing yourself to other people, it's not so good, which we all know that, right? Because we don't know what their life was like. So maybe you're comparing yourself to somebody who's successful, but what kind of life did they have? Maybe they didn't have a life of survival, so they were able to actually put their energy into creating whatever it is that they've created today. And I think for myself, that could be very true. For me, it's like, I do feel I've put a lot of energy into what I believe and what I'm trying to build, but at the same time, 100% of it, no. 100% of energy and self-care into me, absolutely not. And that is sort of the beginning of this journey. Is like, mental health, as we know, is a conversation that is being had more and more, which I'm very happy about, and I'm here to continue it, because it is so vital, especially now, because I'm losing it. I am hanging on by a thread right now, and it's really scary because I've never felt myself at rock bottom quite like this. Like, if I hit rock bottom, I'm usually like jumping right back up and we're good. And this has been lingering now since Tuesday, and that's scary. So here we are. So that's a big takeaway. Honestly, like, the other takeaway is what I said, which is like, maybe I'm not a workaholic anymore, but like, that goes for like your time management in general. It's not just, for me anyways, like self-care isn't just like, okay, cool, we're not working 12-hour days anymore and we're learning how to shut off and we're learning those boundaries. It's also about where are you spending the rest of your time? And if I'm spending the rest of my time like basically working another job, even though I enjoy that job, I love being with my mom. I love that we watch shows together and eat food, and we've gone to the lake a couple times I've been home. It's not like a job, but it's not how I would organically decompress. Like, I'm very regimented and my weekends would look a little different. So I'm not really doing myself any favors here, clearly. And I think that's just truly like another lifelong issue of wanting to please people, especially people I care about, wanting to be helpful. With my mom's house, I have put an immense amount of pressure on myself, and I feel so much guilt if I can't be there, if I have to leave early. It's horrible. And it's not my mom, it's me. And my mom and I spoke because she was watching me have this breakdown, and I know she feels bad. The hard part is like, I'm the only one that will help my mom. So it's like, what do you do? Jump ship so that you can focus on yourself? Like, that never seemed like an option to me personally. And we don't need to go into that because, you know what? I have 2 more weeks here and we're just going to keep going as we have. And this is where the universe kind of comes in for me. Like, whatever you believe in can be sort of the same thing. Whatever your faith is really like what we're talking about here. The universe was looking out for me when I originally made these plans. I put in notice to my job and said, I'm gonna have 2 weeks until the next one, until the next, I should say, project that I'm taking on. I was like, I'm gonna take 2 weeks off. This is something that I haven't done. So I've lived in Seattle going on 2 years, and I've switched jobs a few times, I'm not gonna lie, but it was all for growth purposes. Like, the job I moved here for, I quit because I didn't want to be in that industry at all. It was a COVID testing site. So I was able to be an operations manager because I have event experience, but like, to continue on and pursue a career in health, like, really wasn't my goal. And then I went over into being a leasing agent while I was in school for my license, for my real estate license. And then, which was great. And then I wasn't really making good money there and got this opportunity to go work at a firm, like a real estate firm, and be their marketing coordinator. And eventually turned into their marketing director, which was really cool too. And then I went into my current position, which, like, I'll go into this in another video. I didn't really like do the whole real estate thing where I just like jump in and be my own agent. I decided to work under 2 really successful agents out here. So each time I switched a job, like COVID into being a leasing agent, I think at that point I don't think I took any time off for that. COVID job to leasing agent, I took 3 days off to go to Arizona for my grandpa's 80th birthday. And then leasing agent into marketing coordinator, I took 1 mental health day where I just stayed home. And then coordinator to director was like all together. When I was when I was both, I was able to work remote. So I feel like my work-life balance was a lot better back then. And I didn't have my license, like my mom's house wasn't a thing. Like, I was probably a lot more mentally put together at that point, if I'm like being honest with myself. And then director into this role, I went to Vegas for 4 days for my brother and sister's 21st birthday, and that was it. So it's like, that was in March, and now we're here in August, and it's like, I would say from my mom came back to Washington in April, and from April until now, it's just been a really full schedule, whether it was the volunteering, shooting with the boys, helping mom with her house, trying to date, trying to have a personal life. It's just been me constantly overextending myself again and again. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of it, and that's why I'm here to make this video, because I don't know if anybody else like out there needs to hear any of this. The hope is that it will help somebody else. So yeah, my friend tells me, okay, like, you're in this state of survival. You're in a state of survival. You have been for a long time. That's okay, but that's what's going on. And she finally says, you need to pause. You need to take a break. And this is where the universe comes into play, as I've been mentioning. The universe comes into play and says, I had this all lined up for you, essentially. And the reason I say that is because when I gave my notice like a month ago now, something like that, a little over a month ago, I gave my notice to this job and I said, okay, I'm gonna take 2 weeks off before the next project that I pick up. And I was really mostly doing that, to be honest, because I was like, in terms of the payroll calendar, this makes the most sense. And then it's my friend's birthday, so I want to make sure that like nothing gets in the way of my friend's birthday. And keep in mind, when I was doing this job, I didn't have PTO. I did not have time off. If I wanted to take a day off, I had to go make up for it either the week before I left or the week when I got back. So it wasn't like my last position, let's just say that, because everything that I'm doing is like showing homes, and like most of it you have to be here for, you know. You can't really do, I mean, you can do a ton of it remotely, but the position I was hired for was to show homes. So that was like definitely an adjustment, but like again, in my head, I'm like, I want this, I want to be an agent, like this hard work is going to pay off, put your head down, work, work, work. That was truly my mentality. I don't have obligations that are, you know, going to get in the way of me being able to do this job. I don't have a family, I can say no to travel, you know what I mean? Like that was really the mentality here. And so that's what I did. And guys, that mentality caught up to me. Had I had more of a work-life balance, like not spending every waking weekend working on a house, which like I'm not very good at, by the way. I'm not a contractor. Let's just say I'm not good at that. Had I taken the time, you know, to have a weekend, decompress, and like take care of myself, there were moments, you know, there were definitely moments of me taking care of myself and like being okay, but it wasn't consistent enough, and I don't think I would have gotten to this level if I had been a little bit more mindful. And I'm not trying to blame myself right now, I'm just trying to self-reflect. And so if you are on the verge of burnout and you can feel it and you know you're on your way, pull the brakes now. It's not even worth it for you to try to continue down this path. Like, it just isn't. You have to look out for yourself. Maybe this is the sign you need. I don't know. I'm in some serious shit. Like, my mental health is totally declining at this point, and I'm not proud of that. So that's kind of been the full thing here. So these are the takeaways that I hope you get out of this, which is, one, you might be living in a state of survival as well, which means your energy is not adequately going to what you are trying to pursue right now. If that is the case, takeaway number two is that maybe you should be forcing yourself to take some sort of a break. And I know it's not always possible because I was in that position too. But if it is possible, take a break, even if it's just a weekend. I mean, we talk about this in real estate all the time. The only way to really be able to pour into your clients is if you pour into yourself. And if you're not pouring into yourself and having those moments of like, okay, I'm energized, you are eventually going to burn out. And that's what this video is about. I am hitting some serious burnout, and it's scary. This is the first time in my life I've ever felt like I'm never gonna be successful and I'm gonna give up. And that's why I'm taking some serious action. And so that is what part two is gonna be about. So as I've said, I think that it was the universe looking after me, if I'm honest. I put in the notice, as you guys know, having no idea that I was gonna be feeling this way leading up. I thought like, oh, it'll be nice to get away. Like, finally, I haven't gone anywhere since March. I'll get to see my friend for her birthday, and that's gonna be that. And now I'm like, oh, it's on. I am going to be doing everything in my power to disconnect and take that seriously. And so that's what I want part two to be about. I don't know if I'm going to film, while I'm doing it, since I'm going to be trying to disconnect and just be present. But there will be a part two where we talk about, okay, I've taken 2 weeks off now. I'm about to start this new project. Where am I at? Are there changes? Am I what's going on? And I'm excited to do that. So again, I hope that there were some takeaways here. You may be living in a state of survival. You probably need to take a break. And I think the third takeaway would be really realizing and recognizing where you're putting your time. And that one feels a little bit more complex to me, because I was filling my time with things I enjoyed, but the overall condition of my mental health was fading. So I hope this speaks to you. I hope I did this convo video right. And I'm excited to talk more about mental health. And yeah, I'm excited to talk more about mental health. So I will see you guys in part two.